let's climb out over the building. And keep in mind, as I climb this ladder, the slab is here. We're going out over the slab, right? Over nothing. Oh.
Oh man. So number one, that. Yeah. And number two, this.
In this episode of How China Works, I'm bringing cameras and questions to places outsiders are rarely permitted to investigate how China is urbanizing.
We're talking hundreds of years ago, all of Beijing were covered with these very hutong. How you doing?
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
At a scale and pace that are almost beyond comprehension.
China's building the world's tallest buildings, longest bridges, deepest tunnels, fastest rail trains, huge harbors, over 100 airports.
In 1980, less than 20% of China was urban. By 2030, 70% of the entire population, 1 billion people, will live in cities. Old cities are building up,
Whew. Yours pop, huh?
while hundreds of new ones are being built. But this tremendous change that has transformed the country has come at a price. I'm Danny Forster.
That sums it up.
I've spent years investigating cultures and countries around the globe.
Doing it. And that's a cow in a merry-go-round.
Yes.
The winner!
And I'm here to find out how China works. At over 600 meters in the air, I'm at the highest point in China.
Ooh. Oh! Oh! You know what just happened? Oh, I gotta look at it again. Oh no! I just looked down at the top of the Jinmao Tower, and as I looked at it, my whole body went like I'm in just a block of ice and sadness.
In the late 1970s, China shifted course dramatically. At the time, it was a developing nation. But Chinese leaders resolved to become a global economic force. They put their resources into urbanization, building and expanding cities faster than any country in history. Since 1978, over 500 new cities have been built, and older cities have grown at a shocking rate. Shanghai had a population of less than 12 million in 1978. Today, it's home to more than 23 million people. That's the population of metropolitan London, Madrid, and Singapore combined. In Shanghai's downtown, you can see both China's dramatic growth and its success in joining the modern financial era. What was once a small fishing village has become a thriving metropolis. Shanghai's emerging skyline is emblematic of that incredible change, and it's still growing. Today, they're constructing what will be one of the tallest, most sophisticated buildings on Earth, the Shanghai Tower.
Tell me how the inspiration of Shanghai impacted the design of the building.
Yeah, the way Shanghai was built is because of the commerce by waterway 100 years ago. So I think the idea to make this tower, it's very dynamic, asymmetric, and somehow represent the nature of waterways.
It's this idea that if you live in a city that's got streets that are gridded like rectangles, like in New York, the Empire State Building is always the Empire State Building from no matter where you are.
Exactly.
But as I move around this tower, as I move around Shanghai, the building will always have a different silhouette, a different look to it.
But also, this thing helps a very functional way. When we design a building, we know the asymmetrical shape will help to reduce the wind load.
The one thing that makes this building absolutely unprecedented is the fact that you have not one, but you have two facades on your building.
The Shanghai Tower's unique double skin creates occupiable public space.
We think with double skin, the concept from architecturally is really think it's a vertical city concept.
Yeah.
So we said that the outer layer of skin is really a boundary of a city district. And the inner layer skin contains each of them 10 to 15 floors. It's about community.
You're actually trying to create a community, a Chinese community within the tower, stacked up on top of one another. Now, June, we're sitting here talking about this amazing design. I'm looking at this crazy tall model.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you built this thing.
That's right.
Can we go inside that space?
Let's go, let's go.
I mean, it's a nice model, don't get me wrong, but I mean, you did build a larger version outside. Wow. It is enormous. I'm now looking at one of the tallest buildings ever built in the world.
So what do you think?
I think it's stunning. I mean, I really haven't ever seen a building that does what this building does.
Shared public space is actually a traditional feature of Chinese cities, just not in skyscraper form. The network of alleyways that wove through much of old Beijing, known as hutong, were a gathering place for residents living in nearby courtyard dwellings. Hutong still exists today, and innovation is helping them keep up with modernization.
We're talking hundreds of years ago, all of Beijing were covered with these very hutongs. Everyone lived in hutong housing.
Yeah, everyone lived in these alleyways, and their houses were courtyard houses.
Hello, how you doing? Hello. Hi, how are you? Show me the way in which you think we can actually hang on to this heritage, but still live in a modern city.
Well, if we come right around the corner, I can show you. Come on in.
So this is the traditional house. You have families living on one side, families on the other side. And what is this?
Well, so part of the courtyard house is actually now vacant, but part of it is still being inhabited. And the issue is, what do you do with the vacant parts? You know, they're not in very good conditions. So our solution is this prefab design.
So basically what I'm looking at is a series of individual pieces that basically come together, like, as you said, a kit of parts, to form a room.
Yes. And what we're going to do is we're going to assemble them inside the house and you know, bring up the living standards.
Oh,
all right. Let's move this over here next to the door. Just slide that in.
That's the bottom to the top here?
Yes.
And so inside of that, just to be clear, you have all your electricity, you have the lighting already turned on, plumbing is plugged right in. That thing is literally a six-sided object assembled inside the hutong, ready to be lived in.
Yeah, when you connect the panels, you're also connecting all the utilities.
This urban regeneration project brings modern living standards and energy efficiency to existing structures that are centuries old.
So if this idea, if this pilot works here in this one example, the possibility is it could work all over.
Yeah. If it works here, it'll work everywhere.
While some are trying to preserve China's cultural heritage, the Shanghai Tower is reimagining that heritage, weaving this community fabric into the facade of a high-tech super tower.
Typically, all you need to do is have enough space for numbers with 2 digits. Yeah. In your building, you need space for 3 digits.
Yeah.
It's not a very common problem.
Not very common
for architecture.
Yeah.
So, June, this is the Sky Garden. This is this inside, outside, elevated public space that exists only in the Shanghai Tower.
That's right.
And tell me how the inspiration for this space is inextricably Chinese.
In Shanghai, we have a small courtyard.
Yeah.
Even in Beijing, you have gardens, But it's really about a garden space. It's really about in between space is kind of a blurred boundary between outside and inside. So people create a sense of energy and a sense of harmonize with nature,
These sky gardens are an example of how the tower is creating milestones for China's construction industry. And today, a major event is about to take place.
So I'm standing on the 125th floor of the building, super, super high. It's this space that when it's done will be the observation deck. And what's amazing about this building is the incredible twisting shape of the building all comes to its apex right here in something called the crown. And the crown is this beautiful glass cap that's supported by all this steel around me. And the amazing thing is today, that steel is being completed with that final piece hanging out over Shanghai.
When complete, at 632 meters above ground, this building will be the tallest in China, a symbol of the country's reach. China's plan to transform its economy through cities has been a triumph. It now has the single largest economy in the world. But such rapid and total urbanization could not have happened by fiat alone. A massive construction workforce had been mobilized to make China's urban dream a reality.
向右转，向左转，向后转。早操，现在开始。加油 ，Hello， 走！1、2、3、4、1、2、3、4、1、2、3、4。
So it might look like I just joined the Chinese military, but actually, I'm at Sani Engineering Construction College. This is college, this is a university.
China's national push to urbanize created a demand for skilled construction workers far beyond supply. So industry leaders founded a university to train the workforce China needed. These young men are acquiring the physical and mental skills they'll need to build the cities of tomorrow.
Okay, who's number one? I want to see who's the best. Is it you? Who? You? Are you the best? What's your name?
My name is Frank.
Frank? Come over here. Bring it up, Frank. Round of applause for Frank. Round of applause for Frank. Come here. Come here. Frank.
Yeah.
You claim to be the best excavator operator in the whole class.
Maybe I'm best.
Maybe he's the best. Or maybe he's not. We're gonna find out in a one-on-one, head-to-head, no-holds-barred challenge, sudden death, no overtime. Let's do this.
Thank you.
Come on. All right. Okay. I'm taking you down, Frank. I'm taking you down. You're gonna win?
Yes.
Let's find out. So we got 2 minutes on the clock. Hey, Frank, look over there. Frank, your mom's coming.
Ready, go.
I'm coming at you, Frank. Go big or go home, buddy.
3, 2, 1.
All right, so what's the score? So in terms of the amount of dirt that each of us hauled, I hauled a whopping 2,000 kilograms. Round of applause for me. Frank, 9,300 kilograms. The winner! Champion!
When students graduate from this university, they'll join a construction workforce of about 37 million people, ready to operate, repair, and even build the construction equipment that is transforming the country tunnel to tower.
I'm here at Sani. Located in Changsha in the Hunan province, these are the guys that build the machines that pump the concrete, dig the foundations, and lift the steel that has powered the single largest construction boom in the world. Now, to put this in perspective, in just 25 years of doing business, Sani has become the largest construction equipment manufacturer in all of China.
They build the tallest skyscrapers like the Shanghai Tower, setting a new world record for pumping concrete 620 meters high, along with airports, harbors, roads, and rail, with state-of-the-art machines made in China.
As we drive here for the next 10 minutes, that guy's gonna come out.
Yes.
Then 10 minutes later, that guy's gonna come out.
If it's a busy season, yeah.
All day, every day.
Yes.
I can see like maybe 15, 20 people.
Yeah. The total here is about 65 people. There are more than 140 robots in this workshop.
You actually have more robots than humans.
Oh, yeah.
And so as I look around this factory, this thing didn't even exist in 2011.
That's right. Beginning of the 2011, there was a I think it's a farmer lying over here.
The transition from rural landscape to industrial hub happened surprisingly fast.
After 2008, from 2009 to 2011 was the best time, in Sany history.
Which is wild because if you imagine 2009, it was probably the worst economic year for almost any company, for almost every country.
Yeah.
And yet 2009 was Sany's best year because China was literally building cities at a rate that no one has ever built before.
Yeah.
Okay, let's back up. In 2008, the global recession hit. Many countries tried to stimulate their stalled economies with tax cuts and spending, but none of them did what China did. They committed a $586 billion fiscal stimulus package, with massive spending on construction, the most ever in Chinese history. We're talking about 40,000 kilometers of railways, 6 million affordable apartments, nearly 100 new airports, and tens of thousands of kilometers of highway. A high-stakes investment that paid off for the country as well as for the construction industry.
The way in which things have changed in China and grown so quickly seems to be something that could have only happened in China. What are your thoughts on that?
So we work very, very hard. We started from very poor, from the agriculture and society.
Yeah.
So for us, we need to learn everything. And also, the Chinese people has very strong wish to improve their living condition.
Yeah.
When I was a child, it's very difficult to feed ourselves. So
Really?
Yeah, really. But now I'm one of the executives in one of the biggest company. So it's a big change, very big change. So it's billion people working so hard and learn so hard. I think so we can make something happen.
This massive building boom produced a strong economy, but rapid urbanization comes at a price. After decades of unchecked industrialization, pollution levels in China have reached a crisis point. In Beijing, the air is clogged with between 7 and 33 times more particulates per cubic meter than humans should breathe. And it's not just city dwellers who suffer. Almost 1/5 of the country's farmlands are polluted, as is 3/5 of its groundwater. China's rise has been unprecedented, but it's put its natural resources, its environment, and the health of its citizens at risk. With China's building boom has come disastrous pollution, including smog so lethal, they call it airpocalypse. The government has begun to focus on the problem, declaring war on pollution, and deploying pilot programs around the country to find potential solutions.
Dr. Yang?
Hey, hi.
Nice to meet you. How are you? 今天采样的时候穿的衣服 requisite biohazard suit. This is like straight out of the movie Outbreak.
Dr. Yang and his team from the Environmental Protection Agency are testing the water quality of a lake in Tianjin.
其实我们不用穿的这么就是这样防护的。现在这个水质状况已经非常好了。
Apparently, Dr. Yang didn't play dress up as a kid and doesn't realize there's the kind of exciting opportunity of just getting into the role. But it's good to be in the moment, to just embrace it.
OK。
Okay? Let's go. Let's do it.
5年前有这一片呢，就是说包括这个岛这儿，还有这后面这一片，整个这一片区域呢，都是一个污水库，用来存放这个化工废水的。当时呢，就是味道呢非常的大，就是离这儿很远的时候呢，就能闻到那种刺鼻的味道。
You can smell it?
颜色呢是那种黑的，深黑色的那种。
So in 5 years' time, you've gone from literally a black lagoon into something that may not be drinkable, but it's certainly a heck of a lot better.
Cleaning up dirty water helps.
All right, Dr. Yang, bring it home.
But as China's cities continue to grow, remediation will simply not be enough. The more energy city dwellers use, the more cars they drive, the more pollution they create. Environmentalist Peggy Liu explains the mindset behind China's recent building boom.
You know, mainland Chinese culture right now is such that they are in experimentation mode, which means, you know, raise it, build it. It's part of this experimentation, this pilot at city scale model.
So this kind of iterative model where you're not afraid to just try.
That's right. We're not afraid to try because it's at China cost, which is cheaper. It's at China paced, right? So commercialization, experimentation happens faster. We're innovating at gigascale, as I said. It's amazing. Nobody else is doing it.
But urban experiments of that size have global implications.
The problem with China's is that we're bigger, so we're polluting more as we grow and industrialize. And frankly, we're at a point, the globe, the planet, Earth, is at a point where it can't afford China to pollute at China scale.
Real solutions have to prevent the problems before they start, driving growth while putting the brakes on emissions. One solution that moves urbanization forward on a more sustainable track: bullet trains. Since 2008, when China decided to bet on high-speed rail, it went all in. So far, they've built 10,000 kilometers of track. Now compare that to the second biggest network in the world, Spain's, which has less than 4,000 kilometers. Connecting over 100 cities, China's high-speed rail network is the largest, fastest, and most complex on Earth. And it's still growing. By next year, it'll cover over 45,000 kilometers. Gerald Olivier is a transportation specialist who's playing a critical role in the development of China's bullet train system.
This is the infancy days of China high-speed rail. What you can see is France has been working on this for a little more than 30 years. So you're comparing a newborn system with a system that is mature, and yet you have 6 times more people traveling.
Right. So to accomplish this much, at this scale, this quickly, what kind of investment is China making on an annual basis to build this system?
Well, China has been investing about $100 billion a year, $100 billion a year for the past few years, and this figure will be a little higher this year. They are going to invest about $130 billion.
So just so I understand how critical this pivotal moment is, right now, they're at 50% urbanization, so about 700 million people live in cities. As they move towards 2030, that number's going to jump to 1 billion.
Correct, yes.
1 billion Chinese living in major cities that need to be connected.
Correct, yes.
And this is the rail system that's going to support the development, not just the country, but of the economy of the future here.
Absolutely.
Not only is high-speed rail impacting the economy, a ripple effect is being felt by families across the country.
As a result of urbanization, people are leaving their villages and moving to cities for work. But that core sense of family connection is still fundamental in Chinese culture. So to get people back home, China built bullet trains, and they built them fast, servicing a whopping 2 million passengers a day. But if you can believe it, it's still not enough, especially on national holidays.
If high-speed rail is going to help solve the problems caused by urbanization, both environmental and cultural, then people have to be able to rely on it, even during the country's most intensely traveled period. If it can handle that, it could potentially carry the burden of the urban billion coming by 2030. From grassroots ideas to government initiatives, China is experimenting, looking for new ways to fix the problems created by decades of record-shattering growth. For the sake of the world, no less than for its own citizens, China is going to have to change its ways. It won't stop building, so it's going to have to start building differently.
So I'm about 150 kilometers east of Beijing, heading to a town called Tianjin, which is claiming to be China's first ever eco-town.
In Tianjin, sustainability is the principle that guides the development of the master plan, beginning at the very foundation of the city.
So it's not just that you built a sustainable city, you built it on top of what was formerly a polluted brownfield site.
Yes, this is not one of those eco projects that is developed by tearing down a large natural environment or destroying farmland, because that is not what we consider a sustainable option. There are different aspects that we are trying to monitor. This includes green transportation, utilization of renewable energy, 100% green buildings, which we are able to do because this is a greenfield development from what used to be a barren site.
At the central control area, they're monitoring the city's sustainable systems.
And just to give you a sense just how kind of real-time this data is, you've seen wind turbines all around the eco-city, right? If I isolate just one turbine in one area, you can see that is the amount of kilowatt hours of power that are being produced by that turbine in the city right now.
Tianjin offers more than just renewable energy. Its core concept is predicated on something called an eco-cell, a roughly 400 by 400 meter area that contains everything a citizen would need: home, work, groceries, school, even a park. The eco-cell is designed to attract residents not just to a sustainable city, but also a sustainable life.
This eco-city, as skeptical as I was, is actually the beginning of an alternative. The housing is here, but it's sustainable housing. But they're also trying to limit the use of the car, increase public transportation, create mixed-use environments, intergenerational housing, all of these ideas that are nowhere to be seen in cities like Beijing. The idea is those cities are working, they're dense, they're intense, but the quality of life is coming down, and Chinese folks want an alternative. Now will this work? I don't know, but for sure, this is the first time anywhere in China where I'm seeing these ideas in practice.
Burgeoning eco-cities will succeed only if their residents can travel quickly to and from larger cities, and they can stay connected to their families back home. Shania Shen is part of a new generation of young people who have left their hometowns in pursuit of greater opportunity in big cities. Today, she's heading home for the holidays.
How difficult is it to get a ticket during Chinese New Year?
Without the fast train, we had the Chinese train. At that time, there were not that many trains, and we only released the ticket about 10 days before the day you need to departure. So you can't purchase a month beforehand, no way. But now we have the fast train, a lot more trains going, it's faster, more frequency, so it's not as difficult now.
Xie. This is us, number 7.
Yeah, and it's calling us, we have to go now.
All right.
Suzhou is 100 kilometers from Shanghai. Now, the trip used to take 2 hours, but on the bullet train, it takes only 30 minutes, traveling at around 300 kilometers per hour.
Talk to me about the landscape, because as you look out the window, how has this changed and evolved? I mean, for example, I see cranes, I see skyscrapers, and I imagine this was probably agricultural farmland 5-10 years ago.
You're completely right, and that was the part I actually feel quite sad in a way. Urbanization is fantastic, China is developing the skyscrapers, but then again, 10 years ago maybe, these places will be just all agriculture. Now the city is expanding, and the factory is now moving out of the city.
Right, as real estate values skyrocket, you can't possibly keep factories in downtown areas.
Exactly.
They put skyscrapers in cities, and the factories move here.
Indeed.
The next station is Suzhou Station.
Thank you. Xie. Which one's your dad?
The one in the black shirt.
The one that looks very excited to see you, who's like, can't wait? Hello, ni hao.
Hello.
Ni hao, I'm Danny.
Ni hao.
Shamling Mu, nice
Ni
to
hao,
meet
ni
you.
hao.
How are you? Hello. Hi, I'm Danny. Ni hao. Xie.
The village is actually not that far from Shanghai, but Shania is welcomed as though she's traveled an incredible distance.
Hi, ni hao.
And in a way, she kind of has, in terms of how different her life is in the big city.
This is my grandma.
Hello. Ni hao.
Ni hao. My grandma is over 70 years old.
Wow.
This is probably the first time seeing an American guy.
I see. So I get to feel special today?
You should.
This is an awkward moment when I'm forced to be the representative for the American people. But I'll do my best.
My dad is saying lunch is ready.
He's hungry.
Shall we?
Let's eat.
Yes.
Shania's homecoming is a scene that's repeated millions of times throughout China, when new urbanites grab that chance to visit the families they left behind. Especially during national holidays, when China experiences the largest annual migration in the world.
So in terms of the rail infrastructure and train usage, is it fair to say that this is the highest traffic day in the year?
During that 10-day period, you will have 9 million people traveling every day. And out of this, about 3 million every day on high-speed rail. So yes, it's a very busy period, and this is the highest in the year.
So talk to me about capacity of the system.
Today, in terms of traffic transported, you have about between 530 to 600 million passengers per year, depending on how you look at it. And you're still very, very far away from the peak capacity. Ultimately, the goal is not to serve the current traffic, it's to serve the traffic of in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
It's hard to kind of put your head around it, but this moment in China's kind of urbanization, industrial development, I mean, this happened in European countries or in the West quite a while ago.
It's a game changer. You can think of it as setting up the backbone for the competitiveness of China of the 21st century. Doing it right will make an immense difference in terms of China's productivity, competitiveness, and the way the different cities interact within one another.
Building a forward-looking rail system and sustainable cities of the future is not just a matter of planning, it's also about execution, which means China's young construction industry will ultimately determine whether this country's massive urban experiment is a success. China urbanized in a fraction of the time it took the West. Total transformation within a generation. And because it all happened at once, companies like Sany that were on the ground at the time had the chance to contribute to almost every aspect of China's reinvention.
It is incredible to say that you were a part of not just the urbanization of China, but really the transformation.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing thing.
Almost all the construction job need our machine. One is the buildings, the tallest building in China, and also the infrastructure like the highway, the high-speed railway, and also the huge harbors and the longest bridges like that.
China could build up to 50,000 skyscrapers in the next 20 years. And 82 new airports are due to open by the end of 2015, a rate of roughly one each week. But when building bigger than ever before, the tools China needs have to be reimagined. It's a challenge that has sparked both creativity and invention.
As China's construction boom continues to increase, they're building not just more projects, but bigger ones. And in order to execute those designs, they literally have to invent new and larger forms of construction equipment. Case in point, what I'm standing on right here is a crane boom that connects to a piece of equipment that can lift, get this, 3,600 tons, one of only two in the entire world. And today, we're gonna break this crane down and ship it out to take part in its very first maiden project.
Consisting of over 150 individual parts, it's one of the largest of its kind. This assembly requires not just a dedicated team, but heavy reinforcements.
The pins are being attached. Once we're locked and loaded, the crane operator will give it the go, and what I'm standing on right now will get lifted up and taken off the crane. So we have the pins both disengaged, we have tension in the wire, and I think right now you're gonna see this whole massive piece begin to slide out. Oh, here she comes. It's about to come loose. And look at that. Drive the crane? You're gonna let me drive the crane? You hear this? So for the next lift, that piece you just saw, I am gonna operate the crane and get that mega piece off to the side. I don't know how to drive a crane. All right, all right. Okay. How are you? I'm Danny. Hi. How are you? Could you show me what all the controls do?
这个可以调这个百分比的快慢，这个是可以大臂可以上升下降。
All right. Okay, we're driving, we're moving, and now I'm gonna lower the jib. All right, bringing it down. Here we go. And now this piece is sitting on the ground.
These are some of the biggest toys in the world, designed specifically for China's needs. And once they go on site, the company keeps a close watch.
您好，我们这边是3一重工的，很高兴为您服务。
看到这里面的工作人员就是我们在总部的部分的2线服务工程师。
And right now, they're monitoring SANY equipment in different cities all over China.
对，比如说我们可以看到设备的一个详细的地理位置，然后我们还可以看到它设备的一些施工的情况，包括一些非常简单的故障问题，都可以通过这套系统来体现。
Just incredible to think that right now, as I look at this map, as I look at all of China, there's
200,000 pieces of equipment.
And you're monitoring all of them.
These machines are the tools that built modern China. They are just as advanced and powerful as you might imagine. And they're also surprisingly graceful.
At SANY, it's one thing to make a tremendous amount of high-tech construction equipment. But even with an amazing machine like this and a pair of novice hands, it's just a big pile of metal. So today, I'm going to meet some of the finest operators in the entire company, and they are going to show me what they can do. Gentlemen, how are you?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you. Tiago, what's your name? Robot. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Hi. Dawn. So we got Robot, Tiago, and Dawn. We have 3 of the finest operators in the whole company who are holding 3 very bizarre tools with them. Robot, you have a bottle of beer with you. Tiago, you have an egg. And lastly, Dawn, you're carrying parchment and a calligraphy pen. Really good crane operators tend to talk about the bucket or the jib as an extension of their arm, but this is really going to put that to the test when he's literally going to try and write not just cursive, but beautiful calligraphic kanji letters. Take it away, my friend. Look at that. He's dabbing the edge of the pen to get any residual ink off it. You gotta check out his focus. I mean, look at this guy's face. He's like totally locked in, super calm. Keeping in mind, these are devices that are typically used to move dirt and boulders and rocks, and now he's managing a calligraphy pen. That was amazing. That was really incredible. Quality changes the world, huh? In kanji with an excavator. Robot, the floor is yours, buddy. And that just happened. Bring it home. 5 for 5. Does he have it? Oh, he has it, ladies and gentlemen. That's a Robot with an excavator. That's craziness. That was super weird, but amazing. This is like some elaborate mating ritual. Well, there you have it, the big finale. We've moved spoons, we've opened beer bottles, we've made calligraphy. I mean, when you think about what these guys build, construction equipment, heavy steel machines to lift things and dig things and create things, what you don't think about is this, the kind of intense, eloquent, articulated precision that we got to see here today. And I can tell you, I've been to a lot of construction sites. I've never seen anything like that before.
While this all might seem kind of silly, the focus and precision required to pull off a performance like that is exactly what's needed at a big, complex construction project, like the Shanghai Tower. If China's incredible growth and economic success need an illustration, look to its skyline.
If you take a step back and look at the 3 mega towers in downtown Shanghai, you can almost get a kind of a visual history of China's recent development. Now, what do I mean? Take the Jinmao Tower. 1999, this building with its step pagoda roof is China looking to its history for inspiration. About a decade later, 2008, the Shanghai World Financial Center. This abstract, geometric icon is China looking outwardly to the globe for new ideas. And today, the newly completed Shanghai Tower. Here you have a building whose philosophy and its design is steeped in Chinese tradition, but simultaneously through its technology, it's all about China's future.
The tower's completion will represent the culmination of the last 30 years of urbanization.
Ooh. So where I'm standing is on the outside of the building. Look at them. That's inside the building. Look, they're on solid ground. Their feet feel on it's concrete. There's a sense of stability to it. Look at this. It's like a chicken coop. I mean, if ever a picture explains everything I'm trying to describe, it's that. That piece of steel hanging right there is hanging above the Shanghai World Financial Center. That sums it up. Whew, okay, let's install some steel, boys. Let's define a skyline, huh? Let's redefine the skyline with the completion of an icon, huh? So if you look at that steel piece, you can see it's got two pipe-like legs, and each one of those legs are gonna kind of come into position, and we're gonna locate that pipe directly on here, bolt them together, and ultimately weld it into place. And it's this steel right here that's gonna hold the glass that will create the top of the building. Oh man, here it is coming up. I mean, that's just hands down one of the craziest things you'll ever see on a construction site. Once the piece is locked in its final position, then that brave soul has to climb the ladder and physically detach the piece from the crane. But what that means is this piece of steel is in its final position. That was very, very impressive, sir.
Shanghai Tower is a gorgeous symbol of China's progress, but it's not an empty symbol. Created with the most sophisticated digital technology in the world, it incorporates cutting-edge sustainable systems and pioneers the vertical urban courtyard in every way, architecturally, environmentally, culturally, and it doesn't just symbolize progress, it redefines it.
You know, I have to say, I've been given an amazing opportunity. For the last 3 months, I've got to travel all over China and get a really unique perspective on this country and the culture. I've got to be in a classroom meeting the kids who will be building the Chinese cities of the future. I've got to travel at Formula One speeds in their new high-speed rail network. And I got to climb over 2,000 feet in the air and get an incredible view of the Shanghai skyline.
Oh, my whole body went.
And one thing is clear, urbanization, right? It's happening, and it's impacting really every layer of Chinese society. At the macro scale, think about cities. They're building more and denser cities than anywhere else in the world. There's a construction manufacturing company creating a new excavator every 10 minutes. And in terms of high-speed rail, they have laid more track here in the last 6 years than any other Western country in the last 50. We know urbanization creates wealth, but it also creates problems. And as fast as China is building their cities, they're also working to stop some of these problems. Think about the Tianjin Eco-City, a master plan designed to roll back carbon emissions. There's a grassroots effort to preserve the hutong and hang on to that original texture that made Beijing what it was. And there are skyscrapers with green, sustainable spaces located literally thousands of feet in the air. But for me, the question is this. China is working to raise their standard of living, but in doing so, can they preserve their quality of life?